Hey there, aspiring horror authors. It's another episode of Sako and the Moon, created by two self published horror authors. Today we're talking about networking as an author. I am Sako Toomey, artist and author, and a bunch of other things, but we'll just mention that I'm a self published author three times over. I've been working on my craft for decades, and now I'd like to share my skills with you guys.
I am Dewan L. Hearn, more affectionately known as the Moon, and I do the things. I kind of find a thing, and I figure out how to do the thing, and then I do the thing. Currently, I'm an author, once published. It's cool to say author, not writer anymore.
Yeah,
I'm an
isn't it nice?
author. It is so nice. Author, screenwriter, filmmaker, podcaster now. Does this count as YouTuber? Do we count that separately now?
No, I think this counts as YouTuber.
This counts as YouTuber. We're
Yeah.
YouTubers. Hey,
Hey.
look at us. So yeah, the new business card is gonna be full.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
business cards leads into the topic of today's
Yeah.
conversation,
Networking. All the
which is my
networking.
favorite part. It's my favorite part of
Yes.
all of this.
It's it's definitely a big part of my being an author is networking, because it also plays into my other hats.
Naturally.
So like people who need like formatting, I'll make myself available. People who need like commentary on their like a proofread on their stuff,
Right,
like
right.
I'll help with that while I'm formatting. Um,
And that's
yeah,
of course the other part of it is like one of the things we talk about so much on this show is how when you're part of the traditional publishing machine, uh, there are other people who are in charge of the things, the editing, the formatting, the presentation, the put marketing and the making of the signs and the contacting these people. There's a machine. They have a department for all of those things. When you're an independent, like we are that machine. We again, as we always say, we wear all the hats, and should be like a show tagline at this point.
yeah. Oh, hold on. Create a banner. Yeah.
We wear all the hats, which is fun because soon we will have the hats that we'll do that soon. But see, we wear all the hats, and that's the thing. Like for networking, when you're wearing all the hats, there's some things you just don't know how to do, especially your first time through. I mean, you've done this three times. I've only done this once, and you mentioned formatting. I mean, I didn't even completely understand exactly what formatting was exactly,
Make it
but
look like a book.
boy, did I learn quickly.
Yeah.
I learned quickly, and I learned how to format, and I learned how annoying it is to format, which is why we always pay somebody else to format. And networking is one of those things that allows you to meet those people with those skills. So not only if you're trying to get your words out, does the networking help you connect with the people who will, you know, receive those words, but these are people who've already experienced it. They have the experience like Sako, and they're able to connect with you and say, hey, do you need help with business cards? Do you need help with a website? Do you need help with cover art? Your story is great. I can work your cover for you. I have an idea if that's cool with you, and you work a deal. And that's how that works out. That networking is a beautiful part of this, and it's so much damn fun.
It it super is. Let's see. It's not just for the faint of heart, especially in the horror genre, I feel
Mm.
like. Um, Forging connections with fellow authors, publishers, industry professionals is essential for survival as an independent author. But why is networking so crucial for horror authors? Well, picture this: you're lost in a labyrinth of publishing industry surrounded by shadows and uncertainty. Networking serves as your guiding light, illuminating paths to opportunities, mentorship, and collaborations that would otherwise remain shrouded in darkness.
Spoken like a true horror
writer. Let's see. Networking transformed my career from a ghostly whisper to a blood curdling scream. Uh, through networking events and online communities and conventions. During the pandemic, a whole bunch of like writer conventions, like virtual conventions, like popped up, and I strongly recommend trying to get on their panel list, uh, or at least attending. I know of two that actually happen on YouTube specifically, and
writer.
then and then there's like a whole bunch of other virtual cons for writers that I have like tiptoed on. Um, let's see. Connecting with fellow authors offered invaluable advice, support, and even opportunities for collaboration. Case in point,
Here we are.
here we are. We're horror authors who decided to network with each other and also collaborate
And
on
this
it.
happened because we met last July
Mm-hmm.
at a convention. We had some mutuals who knew each other. So, like, I knew some people, she knew some people, our peoples knew some people or knew each other. So we were all hanging out. We had a very interesting car ride to go get some ice cream. And
I'm being a doctor.
there actually is a picture of us in the back seat of a car. It was her between me and fellow horror writer James Sabata, and we're just like, she's just like crouched in the back seat between these two people. Um, but we all got together. We all had dinner. We all went out for ice cream. Time passes. We're communicating, and honestly, it was just we just had so much damn fun talking to each other. We're like, hey, why don't we just make a show out of this and talk shop? And
Yeah,
here we are.
and here we are talking shop.
You
And
know,
we're like
and
9 episodes in.
yeah,
This is the
and,
ninth episode.
and plenty of more to come
Oh,
uh,
yeah, for sure.
with more interviews, which we started lining up. Yeah, some stuff is happening. It's coming. Um,
He's coming.
but like, and that car ride's a great example. One of the people in the car, as I mentioned, was James Sabata. Was someone else I met at a convention years prior, and since then he's made himself available to me in my screenwriting, and I was able to pass along some projects to him, like, yo, give me your thoughts. And he's given me some very honest feedback. And, and honestly, that's the thing that you need the most
Critique partners. Oh my
in
God.
your independent journey. If you can't find somebody who is willing to look you dead in the eye with all the love in their heart, tell you that your project sucks, if you don't have that person, find that person faster than yesterday. Because I've seen a lot of American Idol auditions where someone's like, my mom and my family tell me I'm the world's best singer. And then next thing you know, it's the worst rendition of She Bangs that you ever heard in your entire life. Shout out to William
Wow.
Hung. Uh,
Shout out to William Hung.
um, now, William Hung is great, but he's a great example of how you can motivate people that you love because you love them, and as you should. Um, but your significant other, your mom, your cousin, are going to be more cautious of your feelings. And so it's really good to have people in the industry who don't have that same tie to you, who can give you the most honest feedback for what it is that you're trying to do. Are you trying to go into festivals for your film? Are you trying to get published or get your piece picked up by a traditional publisher? What are your goals? And as these people who have already experienced this, they can help lean you into that direction that you're already trying to go, or tell you that, hey, maybe this isn't the right space for you. Try going this route yourself. There's one piece of advice I was always given. It applies to everything. And it's learn from other people's mistakes, because life is too short to make them all yourself. And
Yeah.
if I can learn from another person, yeah. So go to your conventions, go to these online streams, go to shows like ours, and learn from people who have already done so. Because
Yeah.
we're going to have the insight. We're going to have, I've already had the struggle when it comes to formatting. I'll never let that go. I had the struggle when it comes to formatting. I learned from another YouTube video, and then I just tried it. And when I tried it, I screwed it up a little bit, and then I fixed it and I played with it. And next thing you know, I have a published book. So
Ta-da!
you learn that. You learn after a while. So there is
YouTube
progression.
University, man. I love it.
Why you almost want to say why go to college, because at this point there is so much data at your fingertips. But
It
the
helped
reason you should
me
go to college,
recalibrate my career. Like
the reason you
I
should go to college is because in college you can network. There are so many people you can connect with through your college. I literally was almost late for this stream because a buddy of mine is getting his doctorate and was doing his dissertation. And to see all the people that he connected with, he was actually telling a story when I left about how he connected with somebody when he first went to that university, and how that helped his progress not only through the university but through his career as a historian and as a writer. He also writes horror, so if I can get him in here, I'll get the doctor on the show if I can. He's been busy, hopefully not so much anymore, but
I will be right back.
sure. But yeah, this is a perfect example of networking through the people you're connected with, you know? So, sure. Can you learn everything you can from the little device that we keep in our pockets? Sure, you can learn so much from that. YouTube is a mountain of information, including this show, which, if you're not already subscribed to, you totally should be. Um, but shows like ours, other YouTube channels, the people you can just meet and connect with, that's the whole point of networking. There are already people who are established. They're trees where roots are already in the ground, right? And
When
we're
you were just a twinkle in your daddy's eye.
right. And so you learn from these people. We've had the chance to talk to state poet laureates and long-term editors and publishers and authors with so many different books. And I've learned so much from all of these people. It helps change your writing style. It helps change your formatting. I have a separate YouTube show that now I use this platform that we use for our show because I learned from her. And it's just, you learn from the different people around you.
Indeed. First and foremost, you should step out of your comfort zone, especially after the pandemic. Holy crap.
Yeah.
So, getting out into conventions, writing workshops, author signings, connecting with like minded individuals who share your love of the macabre.
Hmm.
Yeah. Uh, is haunt the halls of Facebook groups dedicated to horror fiction. Explore the eerie corners of writing forums like Reddit No Sleep. Okay, so the problem with Reddit No Sleep is that stories can, like, if you write creepy pastas or whatever,
Hmm.
they can be stolen. They go. I have a friend who went viral because someone else read it aloud on their TikTok, and they are making all the money on her story instead of her. So,
There's nothing to say, but damn, that sucks. Like, it's one of
damn,
the,
that sucks.
I
Yeah,
mean, because
so
when your work is
careful with
out there,
Reddit.
when your
Careful
work
with
is
Reddit.
out there, your work is out there. I mean, even if as a published author, Anyone can buy our book, and like you said, read it aloud, and their video goes viral, and they're getting millions of views because they love the video of them reading and of your work, and they're getting the creator fund money, and you're getting exactly
Yeah.
nothing. The
Yeah.
silence.
Yeah.
You're hopefully you'll get people who will research and realize, oh, it's by Sako Toomey or it's by Duane L. Hearn, and they'll look you up and try to find you to give you proper credit. I like to do that when I see videos that are uh, tagged or what do they call it when you're watching a video with somebody on TikTok when someone's like copying
Like
your video.
lives. Oh,
I don't TikTok
I
as
can't
much as I
remember.
used to, but
TikTok,
you know what
yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
When they're
Duets
connecting
and stuff
duets,
like that.
that's it. When they're
Mm.
duetting your video, I try to find the original person's video and go back and like that video as opposed to the duet.
Yes, me too.
If the duet didn't add anything to it, which nowadays, slight soapbox. Okay, so why are we sitting here doing this with duets on videos where the other person just sitting back like,
Just forward
and
the
they're just sitting
TikTok.
there,
Just forward the TikTok. Like,
right? Like just repost it or just share it, tag the person, add something to it, do something. Oh my god, duet it, stitch it. I'm remembering terms now. Duet it or stitch it, add something to it. Otherwise, you're going to find someone like me who's going to ignore your video completely and go back to the original person's video. I'm gonna give them the watch time and I'm gonna give them the like and follow because I like what the content was.
right.
But off my soapbox, like you said, all of these different forums to get your work out and to get connected with other people are fantastic. Substack and Reddit and all these other different little places. But you got to remember, if your work's not your work officially, I mean, it is. But if there's no way of saying, oh, this is my work, they got it from here, you got to watch that because some people are out there. It's not as big of a worry as everyone thinks it is.
Yeah.
It is still a concern, though. Got to keep it in mind.
Especially if you're putting it up for free.
Mm-hmm. So
Um,
create a collection and publish it on Amazon. Just something to get. It sounds dumb, but just something to have your work as yours sourced, like something that says this is Duane's,
copywritten.
this is Sako's, this belongs to you, this belongs to me. Just anything, and it's the easiest thing in the world to do. Once you've done all the hard stuff in the background with the formatting and the editing, click, 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 and there you go.
Yeah.
Just release your stuff. Just put it out.
But I, mm, I feel like there's like small print when it comes to releasing your stuff, and
There
I
is
think
small
that's,
print to everything.
but that's an episode of it, like copyright and like all of that, that
Ugh.
totally down the road.
Oh yeah, that's
But
everywhere. That's good.
and there's a copyright sheet usually in the beginning of your book. Usually,
Usually, if you remember to put it in there, it's
if you
important.
remember to put it in there,
Put it
yeah,
in there. It's important. And disclaimers. And your disclaimers. Names
that
were changed. Uh,
it's just a coincidence,
yeah. I
not
used to
based on
listen. Like
reality.
I used to read those things. I'm like, what is the? Why even put this in here? This is dumb. It's fiction. Of course, it's all. No, put it in there.
No, no.
Put it in there.
Put it in there.
I had to like resubmit mine. I'm like, no, put it in there. Put it in there.
Oh, I have a bunch of stuff on collaboration.
Oh,
There's a bunch
besides
of
this,
benefits. I just have to mention that networking isn't just about what you can gain, it's also about what you can give.
Always, yeah.
It's got to be a trade.
It's got to be a give and take. You
Mm-hmm.
never want to, and that's really kind of a life thing, but you never want to be that person that only receives. At the very least, once you've received information from someone, be willing to give that same information at the very least to someone else, proper credit.
Proper
Um,
credit, yeah.
say, hey, I learned from this guy. I learned from that chick. I learned from this place. I learned from this institution. Don't gatekeep information. That's the chapter in the nip of the bud. Don't gatekeep
Don't gatekeep.
information because, like I said, every day there's someone new doing something, and you learned because somebody was willing to teach you. So don't gatekeep when someone comes to you asking the question, "How did you become successful?"
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to do it for them, but damn, you gotta give them something. Give them something. Give them your resources. Give them your connections. Give them your suppliers. Something like, hey, dude, that's a great hat. Who made your hat? Oh, I connect with this supplier, and then they connect to my website. Boom. Oh, where do you do your show from? How do you broadcast to your different places? Oh, I learned from so and so to go do this, that, and the third. Check out their show, see how they do it. Now I go do it like that. Boom. Just don't gatekeep.
Boom.
It's just it's dumb and it's selfish. Don't do it. Don't do
So, forms of collaboration, not just like doing podcasts and stuff like that. I mean, that's great and all.
I
This
think it's pretty
is
cool.
this is my way of giving back. My author tube and my podcast, our podcast.
It's mostly hers. It's like
Oh, come on.
75% hers.
No. But the point is that I want to pay back for all the learning that I got from the AuthorTube community. So, like, that is why I spam it on, like, AuthorTuber, self promotion Fridays and Saturdays and stuff. Um,
I'm so bad at self promotion.
yeah. So, for one, you can co write. Authors collaborate on a single work together, on writing a single work together, sharing the workload and the creative process. For instance, I am currently working with BC Brown Books. We are writing the sequel to the book that we wrote together called Flambeau. The sequel is called Delphian, and it follows Kyler's story. So that will be a one. It's a blast to write. I love writing sequels because it's like I I want to know what happens after this, and then what happens after that, and then what happens after that. I'm that kind of world builder. Um, Next would be anthologies,
Right.
because that means multiple authors contribute short stories or novellas to a single collection, often
Hmm.
centered around a common theme or concept. A
Right.
lot of times, those authors will communicate with each other or they all market the book that they are in. So, that is the benefit of doing anthologies. And then joint marketing efforts, which is, I guess this counts.
Yeah,
I
kind of.
Authors promote each other's work through joint events, social media campaigns, and cross promotional activities.
So I guess that would be similar to one of the guests that we were talking about having.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing. I'm gonna save the name. I'm gonna save the name. We're gonna hold on. We're gonna save it. It's gonna be a surprise in a couple months. But he's got a new book coming out, and so in promotion of his new book, he reached out to us saying, "Hey, you guys have a show, and I would love to come onto your show and talk about my book." So yeah, all day. So come on over, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
He fits the genre. He's also involved in a whole lot of other things. Which, if we get him in June, I'm really excited because we'll be able to promote the other thing,
His other projects.
the other
Yeah.
big project, the big project that he does. But it's something as simple as either coming onto another person's podcast or at the beginning of the year, shortly after my book was released, one of our friends, Sandy Linder, she picked up a copy of my book, actually bought it. I love her for that. And and did a review for it. And so now on my website, I have a link to her review of my book because she's helping me promote it. It's someone else's opinion, their unbiased opinion, and they're able to share that. And now I can share that video as promotional for myself. And that's something that we do.
I have a hard time being unbiased when I review stuff. Either I really like it or I don't so much like it.
Well, I think that still counts as unbiased. As long I would consider biased is like if my best friend puts out a book, I'm like, well, it's my best friend's book, so you should buy it, but it's crap, or it's poorly written, or it's not
No.
edited well. So an unbiased opinion would be like, hey, the author's a great person. I've spent some great time with him. Um, the book, however, is a little lackluster. Some of the stories don't really get a good
I would try and get in on the ground floor and try and make their book not suck.
right, and that's of course that's another part of the networking. Um, Another part of the networking, honestly, would be, hey, I got your book, and I think I see where you're going with this, but I'm not really sure if this is the finished work you think it is, or it should be for what you're wanting from it. I can give you an honest review, but I really don't think that this will help you in your marketing. So, could I offer you my services as an editor? Can I offer you some insight on character building?
Yeah.
Uh, so that would be why, of course, we take a step back, of course, why you would want to have these people around you in the first place. So in your writing process, you're like, hey, I'm writing this piece. What do you think of it? Oh, I don't know how I feel. I don't know about this, that, and the third. 'Cause I'll tell you, the one thing that most people get themselves in trouble with is having on the page, like what you have on the page and what you have in your mind being different things. As you're writing things, you've thought it through. You know what that character's feeling, but you didn't convey it all the way on the page. So when the outsider is reading it, they're confused because you're like, oh, what do you mean? Of course she's going to the ball with her best friend. Is like, I don't know, that's her best friend. I don't know why she's going to the ball. Was she invited? Is it like a thing that she goes to every year? Like, why is she attending this event? If she goes every year, why is she nervous about it? She wouldn't be nervous about it if she attends every year. Like these little things that you would have probably thought through in your head, but you didn't convey on the page. Having someone else, like a best friend who's also a writer, to read that for you in the process,
Alpha readers.
out there you go, would be crucial. For me personally, there's a lot of issue that women have when men write female characters. So I've learned to write down what I think the female character should say or do, and then hand it off to a female writer of mine and be like, yo, what do you think of this? Like, she wouldn't say that. Oh, really? She's like, yeah, a woman in this situation wouldn't talk like that. She wouldn't say this, she wouldn't say that. And listen, dudes, listen to them. Just trust, take my word for this one. Just listen.
Sensitivity readers.
Also very important when it comes to things like
Racial
gender,
stuff,
racial
gender
thing.
stuff.
So if you have like a trans character, you might want to find some trans folk to pass along to. Back and forth using dead names, like that's going to be triggering to some people. You got to want to pause on that. Having your racial character being way too stereotypical,
Mm-hmm.
um, like don't just have a Hispanic character named Juan. Like find a Hispanic dude you know and have like a more non cliched kind of thing. Like, oh, my Hispanic character is eating tacos and burritos. No, don't do that. Don't do dumb shit like that. Don't. Just please do
We
not.
had some LA Latinos basically do the sensitivity read for Flambeau because we had a Latina as our main character. So, like, we got the green light, but there was a little bit of, yeah.
And you're gonna have that because there's a conversation, and this is probably going to be a whole podcast on its own. There's a conversation where people say you should only write from your own viewpoint.
Mm,
Where I, as a black man, should only write from the viewpoint of a black man, but that's not realistic in any way, shape, or form. If
mm-mm.
I'm writing a story that's diverse, I'm writing the character of a black man, a white woman, a transgender female, a young child, because I'm writing that story. I'm not going to hand my book off to 4 or 5 other different people to write
Right.
all these different parts. But if I don't personally know people who fit in these miscellaneous categories, then I need to reach out to some people and say, hey, like go to your get out of your comfort zone, what you said earlier. Find a queer space and try to interject yourself respectfully. Find a Hispanic space and try to interject yourself respectfully. Find a
Mm-hmm.
space of women and interject yourself respectfully and be like, hey, my name is Dewan. I'm writing this story. It includes a character that I think you could relate to, but I want to make sure that I write this with sensitivity so that I'm being respectful to you. Insert category of people here.
Mm-hmm.
Would you mind giving a glance at just a snippet of that and kind of giving your thoughts on that? And conventions and networking events are a great way to meet those people
Oh, yeah.
and ask them, hey, if I have this, I'll tell you this. One of the very first people I met at a convention and actually sat down and had a conversation with, his name is Nathan Day, and
Ooh, yeah.
he was working on a project that involved an interracial relationship, or he was referring to an interracial relationship from back in the 50s, and we had a conversation. One of our very first conversations about it was like, yeah, I worked on this film. It had to do with the 1950s, and there was an interracial relationship. And I just flat out asked him, how many times was a certain word used? And hey, when you're just meeting a guy for the first time, context, I'm a black man, he was a white man, having this conversation for the first time, just meeting each other, it's like, yo, how we answer these questions is going to really dictate a lot about the next 10 minutes. But he's like, I used it a few times. I'm like, okay, because in the 1950s, that would have been appropriate. That would have been what was said given the context of the film. And he's asked me some other questions about racial sensitivity since then because he respects me and respects my opinion. Um, Now, obviously, as we know, everyone who fits in a category doesn't have the same experience as everyone else in that same category. So you have to be mindful of all these things, all tying back to the conversation we're having, understanding the people around you, meeting these people, having genuine conversations with these people, metaphorically or literally, sharing a drink with these people, breaking bread with these people. It's an amazing thing. You know, the life experience is just at our table when we had Chinese last year. The different life experiences amongst the 5 people at our table just created a wonderful environment that I know that I can utilize that at any point in time if I needed context research for a character. Networking is so important. All of these reasons. I've talked so much.
Success stories. For one, my writing flambeau with BC Brown, and we're writing the sequel now. Like, that's we got real lucky in as far as like compatibility. She wrote paranormal mystery, and I wrote paranormal horror, and we thought our styles could mesh very well, and they are. So it just so happens that we super get along. Um, let's see. Stephen King and Peter Straub co authored The Talisman and The Black House, both of which received critical acclaim and commercial success. Ellen Datlow and Terry Winling edited numerous horror anthologies together, including the year's best fantasy and horror series, which became a staple in the genre. Joe Hill and Gabriel Rodriguez collaborated on a graphic novel series called Lock and Key,
Mm.
which garnered widespread praise and was adapted into a successful Netflix series. Last but not least, Horror Writers Association, or the HWA. Uh, the HWA has facilitated anthologies, mentorship programs, and networking opportunities for horror authors worldwide, fostering a thriving community within the genre.
And a couple of others, because I love to put our people on, because why else have a platform if you don't do it? There's a good partnership between um, Vincent Cava and James Sabatas. They do the Midnight Monster Madness. They got a series coming out. Book one, I think, is available. Um, and of course, the best collaboration this year, Sako and the Moon. This is a perfect example of two people who just had really good conversation. They just kind of got along really well. And I think the best part about this particular collaboration between you and me is that we both kind of know our place in this conversation. I joke about it a lot, but we both know our place in this. Like, you have so much experience, you have so much knowledge that you're willing to share, that when it
You
comes to
too.
when you come for like the information, the passing along of the data and the facts, like, that's your space, and I'm kind of the dude in commentary. I'm the
The
other guy, kind of
peanut
like,
gallery.
I fill in the blanks, because
Yeah.
everything comes back to wrestling. I've compared this show to the commentary desk for like Monday Night Raw, where you have one person that does the play-by-play. And if you don't watch wrestling, the play-by-play guy is the guy who's watching everything in the ring. He knows the wrestling history of both competitors. He knows how many times so and so has won the world championship, and the injury that he's recently had, and how long he was out, and oh, this guy is targeting the arm because he used to have a shoulder injury. That's the play-by-play guy. Color commentary is the other seat, and color commentary just kind of gives the opinionated version of what's happening in the ring. Oh, that guy is being a jerk. Look at him. He's beating him up for no reason in the corner. He could just go ahead and pin him. Why don't he just end the match? He's being such a jerk. I'm that guy. And while she's laying down all the information and knowledge, I mean, don't get me wrong, I've got experience too. This isn't the only thing I've worked on. I've worked on film. I've got a published book. I've been doing screenwriting. I actually got a notification like an hour ago that one of my scripts is an official selection for, I don't even remember what it's called, some Florida screenwriting something or other. So I got the Florida Script Challenge.
Ooh.
Yeah, I found out like an hour ago.
Oh my gosh, that's
So
like exciting.
I
Oh my
haven't even
gosh.
closed the email yet.
Oh
So
wow.
my script was an official selection. Um, so I've done some things. You know, I got a couple of credits, a few laurels on behind me, and
Mm-hmm.
so I'm not like a nobody. I'm not doing nothing, but there is still a difference between what she knows and what I know. And if I walked into this project thinking, well, I'm just going to be the guy and talk about all this stuff and da 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 da, and
I
we'd
like the
have done 2 episodes and that'd been it.
I like parsing things apart, breaking things down step by step, and trying to give credence to each tiny little step, and having a partner in that like actually parses it down even further. Like, yeah.
And it's one of those things that as we got into episodes 1 and 2 and 3, we kind of found our natural rhythm on how we were going to present things, and it works. And in the end, it does just follow suit with just knowing our role and following those roles. And sometimes in your partnership, you're going to be the lesser person. And I don't want to say that in a
I don't
derogatory
want to
way.
say less. I don't want to
I know
say
I don't want to
less.
put it in that context, but there's going to be where someone's going to do maybe a bigger portion of the work,
Oh, sure.
and so you have the lesser portion. What I mean by that, I apologize
Okay.
for my phrasing, but
Yeah.
not like you're the lesser person, but that you have the lesser burden of the tasks. That doesn't mean that you're less a part of the project, because
Right.
everyone has a role, and everybody's role is important. The whole project doesn't get off the ground if everybody doesn't do their role.
Right.
Film sets are perfect examples of that. I mean, you might be the dude holding the microphone, but you're the dude holding the microphone. That's
Yeah.
capturing the dialogue. You ever listen to a movie that's got bad sound? Yeah, you need a good guy with the microphone.
Yeah.
Maybe you're the guy who kept them fed and you kept them happy and you kept them able to be on set to keep whatever your role is. Whatever your role is in your project for your collaboration, it's still an important role. Don't sell yourself short just because the other person may do more work than you do and you feel like you don't get proper credit. No, everybody gets their credit for the,
Yeah.
for the project. The project gets off the ground, you've succeeded. And sometimes attaching yourself to projects like that is the best way to get your feet off the ground. Because then the next time you go through a project, like, hey, you worked with so and so, didn't you? Yeah, I have a similar project and maybe you can work with me.
Yeah.
Boom. Hey, I was on the
Boom.
film set. You were the sound guy. You work with the sound. Well, I need a couple extra hands on my set. Maybe if you're not busy on this filming day, you could help us out. Boom. Learn to
I
say
was
yes.
talking to videographers and directors and stuff like that when I started doing belly dance videos. And it was a big help, for one. And for two, I now have connections in case I am in town with them and they want to shoot. So
Exactly. And of
I'm
course,
super excited
all of
about that.
that, all of that is networking. These are all we babble on about all these little side stories, but those where the side stories come from. Those side stories come from collaborating with other people. I had a guy say, "Hey, I have these ideas for short films, but nobody wants to work with me to work these scripts. I'm bad at writing, so I need somebody to help me with writing." He hit me up.
Right on.
He wanted somebody to film, and his buddy bought a camera. And now we have a small little film thing called Hallowed Hills. I mean, that's
Isn't that
our
cool?
thing, and it's all because there's people, there's a need, and you want to get your people on. You know, that's
Mm-hmm.
that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. Somebody else willing to reach down and helps pull somebody else back up, and that's how we end up wearing all the hats.
That's how we end up
That's where we
wearing all
get the
the
hats
hats.
from. That's where we get
That's
the hats from that we wear.
indeed. Basically, I did some homework on what makes a self published author. First, what made a traditional author, and I decided I didn't like that. I decided I wanted all the control, so I I donned all the hats and I outsource my developmental stuff, like developmental editing. Like I outsource that because I will pay for someone to look at my story structure and my plot holes and all of that and tell me how my story sucks. Like, but I'm that kind of person when it comes to critique. I'm like, tell me how it sucks.
Which honestly, like I said earlier, it's the best place to be. You need someone to look at, to be able to honest. I've had people say, "Do you how honest do you want me to be?"
How honest do you want me to be?
And I'm like, "Tell me what you need to tell me. Be honest, 100% honest. I will only grow from that point. You can only grow if someone actually tills the soil. They have to dig in there with the rake and till the soil and get in there. Only then can the seeds be properly planted so that your seed can grow."
Yeah.
Crazy analogy. Didn't think I was going there, but that works.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I said earlier, you're so familiar with your project, you need other people to look at it. So if you're gonna spend your money on anything, spend your money on editing. Let somebody else read it. Editing and or other readers to read your shit. Do that. Spend the money on that. That's a
Yeah.
great place to invest.
For real. I'm sorry. I have this necklace is like threatening to come apart and I'm trying to like pinch it back in place. Um
You like those little tweezers, like little wired, like a
my
jewelry
husband
maker.
my husband was a jewelry like repairer, jewelry maker like for many years before he met me. So we have those tools. I just
I
haven't.
felt like you had that tool. Like I could just feel like she's got one of them somewhere
I
in her house. It's the little pair of little wire tweezers, little
the
pliers,
little
the little.
jewelers pliers. Yeah.
I need new necklace. I need new jewelry. Watch. I'm a big watch guy. You can't tell, but I'm a big watch guy because they all
Oh,
died during the
oh, I
pandemic.
have. Where's my? I have this thing, but I don't leave it charged because it likes it like if my alarm goes off in the morning, it will go off on my watch too.
Naturally, yeah.
And
See, I don't
I
have any
don't want it to
smartwatches.
do that.
I have like 30 plus traditional watches. Like
I believe you.
I
You
have
have
30.
the tan line.
I still do, like, which is crazy.
Yeah, you have a tan line.
I have like 30 of them. I have 2 full watch boxes. I have 3 watch boxes, but not all of the watches are in the boxes.
Yeah, I got you.
Ugh. Watches are so expensive.
Yeah,
Even the
they can be.
non-expensive watches, when you get to the point where you're buying 30 of them, they're pretty expensive.
They get expensive. Yeah.
Ugh. Spend your money on
So,
editing, not watches.
practical advice on collaboration.
Spend your
Uh,
money on editing, not watches.
uh, networking. So, attend writing conferences, workshops, and online forums to connect with horror authors who share similar interests in writing styles.
Yes,
2, communication, which I
super
think we
important.
nail down pretty well. Clearly define roles, expectations, and timelines at the outset of the collaboration to avoid misunderstandings and conflicts later on.
And get it in writing.
Get it
Email
in
or text.
writing.
Email or text. Preferably email. If I had to give any advice on that part, email the people involved. Have everybody collectively on an email. All your communications go through that. It just keeps everybody on the same page. It keeps everything clear and concise, and it's referable. Like you can refer back to it when there's complications and disagreement. You're like,
I
hey,
do it in Facebook Messenger, but that's me.
I mean, hey, whatever ends up working best for you. Like me and her kind of go back and forth between Facebook Messenger messages and Discord
Discord.
messages. Um, but I know it's in one of those two places, so we can communicate through that either way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so when you're good with people, however you communicate best is how you communicate best. But find a way that communicates and works for everybody. Personally, I would suggest email if you're new to each other on a project. Um, but anything that's like so solid, like a messenger thread or group text, even works just fine.
Works as long as it's in writing.
As long as it's detailed out, clear, and concisely. That's the point. The point is to be clear and concise and be on the same page as everybody else, so everybody can refer to the same thing later on if we need to.
Yeah, yeah.
I sent this on the third saying XYZ. Oh, you know what? You did say that on the third saying XY. My apologies. I was wrong on that part. Let me catch up and be honest about your screw ups. That's all part of communication.
Let's see. Compatibility. So choose collaborators whose writing styles, visions, and work ethic, big point, work ethic, uh, out the outset of, hold up, with your own to ensure harmonious partnership. Uh, we got real lucky again. Like, I did a lot of the preliminary stuff and kind of single handedly handled the third act. And she is like filling in the beats, and I'll go through and edit, and we'll start fleshing things out. And because, when we first start, it's like white room and no one's described, and
Right.
stuff like that. So
Yeah, yeah.
I I
It's the
definitely,
beginning of a project.
you're just getting, I do a zero draft, which is like kind of like laying, brain dumping,
Yeah.
and I brain dump in a format. So and then from there I will develop more ideas in my first draft, in my second draft, in my third. And then as of my fourth, I call it, so third, I think I'll send it to an editor for development, primarily at like developmental,
Yeah.
for me, because I know I need that. Um, and my editor is like super, super affordable and a good friend. So
Right.
I know I can trust his judgment when he says, this is kind of messed up. So, like, that's super, super helpful. Legal agreements.
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry.
before you get
Before
to
I,
the next part, the other thing I wanted to mention is particularly because we do one of the genres that are the taboo genres, and I would say like horror and uh, romance slash erotica would be like the taboo genres.
mhm.
Um, there's always most science fiction is science fiction. Most mystery is just mystery. Most fantasy is just fantasy. But there are different levels when you get into romance and erotica, and there's lots of different levels when you get into horror. And when you're working with someone else, especially if you're working on a horror writing project, like a co-writer,
Mhm.
you want to make sure that you guys have the same idea as it comes to horror. Some people's minds are darker than others. And if you got somebody who's, let's say you're mid 30s, they're mid 30s, you're mid 30s with three kids, and they're mid 30s single, and they're ready to like slaughter a room full of kids. Whoa, like you might be like, you know what? I'm not sure I can rock with this exactly because I have too much personal ties to XYZ.
Investment. Yeah.
Too much thing like we don't do with kids. And da, da, da. We've had when we collaborated with a new director, one of the things
Mm.
he was talking to me about um, as we were discussing the opening parts of this project, like in general, he's like, "Hey, I don't want to step on your toes when it comes to writing." It's ironic, but I don't want to do thing. I don't want to film certain assaults and things like that. And I'm like, you know what? I don't want to write that kind of thing either. So we're good on that. But it's like understanding limits and boundaries of your collaborator, because they're not going to always line up. And what you do in your project over here is cool. What I do over here is fine. But
Mm-hmm.
we're working on something together. Both of our names are on that. So you got to make sure that the person's on the same page as you as far as respecting boundaries and limitations and how extreme you're going to go, especially in genres like horror.
That is a big point of contention regarding horror games, like
Yeah.
role playing games and stuff like that. Like, there are some GMs that have a consent form, and there is a discussion that happens before the game that says, hey, I have content about X, Y, and Z. Does anybody have, like, is that a no no for anybody here? And, like, there's a couple times where I've had to tap out, right? So,
You
like,
know,
I'm a claustrophobic woman. Like,
right. I
there's
mean, that's
there's a lot of stuff that I can't deal with.
and honestly, that's perfectly fair. And I think that this ties into, which is important in literally every relationship type, regardless of between who or whatever kind, personal or professional. Open, honest communication will solve every world problem. Open and honest communication in every one of your projects is so crucial for this exact reason. Um, there was a reading that was done at the party last year, and
Oh, I remember that.
oh, I love that story so much. S.A. Bradley, you beautiful motherfucker.
And then the guy
I
that followed him.
I okay, so that listen, guys, there's a story behind all this. That's a conversation for a different day. That's a
Yeah,
whole different stream.
yeah.
I'll host that conversation later. It's not even a thing. But because I was there for the reading of Primordial Soup by S.A. Bradley,
Me too.
um, which was this is Upward Award, by the way, at
Oh, it
Imaginarium.
should be.
It's
Yeah.
Upward Short Story Award. Um, so shout out to S.A. Bradley. But I love that story because of how extreme it is. It's
Yeah.
a, it's extreme. It's obscene. It's beautiful. It's fantastic.
It's
I absolutely
fantastic.
love it.
Yeah.
I love it. There are some people I've talked to later on. They're like, I don't get it. Not my kind of thing. And apparently, after I left the room, I left the room after that reading. I
Oh.
had another priority I was promised to go to. Apparently, there was an event that took place after I left. We won't touch on it because that's content for a different day. That's bonus. We're going to talk about that on camera. We're going to talk about some stuff. Not today. Not here.
Not today.
Save that because
Mm.
I love to talk to you about it because I've talked to others about it.
We'll talk about it off screen.
I want to record it because it belongs in the universe. But it's a different show. Different show. Um,
There's a bunch of it that I blocked out, but like
maybe maybe
there's
maybe
yeah.
if we get Morgan to get
Morgan was there. Yeah.
we'll get Morgan together. I'll do an episode of The Moon Unscathed because why not? I haven't done an episode of Moon Unscathed in a while. We'll do
Mm-hmm.
an episode of Moon Unscathed. We'll have us all three on here. We'll all talk about that hotel party.
Oh.
Anyway, but what you learn in that event is that there's some people who are going to be cool with what you're doing and some people who are not. They're going to have and feel a certain type of way about it. So that person could really respect you in your field, respect your accolades. You might respect theirs, but your definitions of horror or your definitions of art don't line up. If they
Mm-hmm.
don't line up, then you're not going to have a good partnership. There's going to be a lot of frustration, and it's going to be, there will be no project in the end. So the point I was trying to get to all this was, before I remember that wonderful party, uh, was that make sure that you are very clear on what your limits are and your boundaries, and making sure the other person is on the same level as you when it comes to what you call horror and what you're working on and what your project is and is not going to include. There you
Right.
go.
And I
Legal,
was
the
I was
legal
going to
stuff.
talk about legal agreements.
That's important.
When collaborating on a project, consider drafting a written agreement outlining ownership rights, revenue sharing, and dispute resolution mechanisms.
Yes.
So, um, I didn't need to do that with my partner. We just said, let's write a book, and we started writing a book together. We didn't even think about, like, we just assumed we were gonna split everything down the middle, and
Makes sense.
yeah.
I
And,
did. Oh, go. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, you.
No, I interrupted you. Go ahead. Finish.
Oh, um, usually for my photography, for my illustration, for all of that stuff, I have like a release form or a consent form. Um, basically saying you have full rights, but so do I, and I will get it to you by X date, and they sign it, and I sign it, and legally binding.
There you go.
Um, Sorry, I'm getting messages too. Um, and we've hit the hour mark.
We did. I want to talk about my legal situation. Just for
Please do.
so when I was doing my book is called the Copperweek Collection, and if you didn't couldn't tell, my name's not Copperweek. Uh, but there is a guy whose name David Copperweek. That's where the name comes from. So the book that I wrote, is a collection of short stories that I actually wrote for him. He was doing a game, and he was like, "Hey, they're getting really used to my writing style. I kind of want someone else to write this instead of me." So I'm like, okay, cool. Which is why if you read the collection, the first two stories are written in second person because I wrote them as I thought he would be presenting them to a group. Um, After a while, I just wrote the other ones easier for myself in first person. Or
Okay.
so
Third. Yeah.
third or first, whichever. I can't remember what I wrote them as. One of the stories in there, Sunflowers, is in first person, but
Mm-hmm.
nonetheless. So I wrote them like that, and in that conversation, he paid me. So he paid me for those stories. So we had an agreement that said for the stories written, X number of dollars will be paid upon delivery and upon approval. If
Mm-hmm.
it didn't meet your standard, like you said, resolution, if this doesn't meet your standard, bring it to my attention. I'll make the necessary changes and represent, and you can pay me when you're satisfied. Um,
Oh.
I did that because I'm like, I was being paid per story, and I wanted to make sure that he was satisfied with what I was giving him. Because honestly, it was my first paid writing job. So then there was the other part of this was like, hey, I want to retain the rights to the stories that I'm writing in case I want to use them later.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was all. It was all included in an email. And I'm like, hey, payment, dates, rights, here it is, all spelled out. Reply to this if you agree. And so he did, and that was our agreement. And since I was like, hey, this is the title of the collection. Are you cool with this? Yes, yes, no. And all this stuff was all spelled out, and this is an agreement that he and I had. So that's why I feel I'm able to have this book with my name on it, technically with his name on it. He's got a credit, an acknowledgement on the inside of the book because, of course. And sometimes it's that easy. Sometimes you do need to have some more deeper forms and more deeper information, but it can be something that simple. It just needs to
Absolutely.
spell out, like she said, what the project's going to be, what the roles are going to be, what the expectations are, and if there's a complication or a disapproval, how are we going to, handle it?
Mm-hmm.
Talk it out. I know they're rough conversations, but they're rough conversations that need to be had. You don't want to you don't want to run into an issue without them.
Absolutely. And I think where it comes to putting together a collaboration that has legal bindings and stuff like that, is flexibility.
Yes.
So remain open to compromise and feedback. Embracing the collaborative process as an opportunity for growth and exploration, right? So, in collaborating with another, there we go, collaborating with another writer, with another writer is also a critique partner in a lot of ways. So, like, you come up with a concept and you run it by your partner, and they may or may not agree with it.
And that's just really how that works.
I had to be pretty flexible when, because my my co-writer is a discovery writer. Basically, they'll map out the beats like in one sentence, like I do, and then however they make the point that we of the scene, like
Right, right.
is is like up to the gods. So we only had a random thing pop up once. Um, Certain powers that Justicia had in Flambeau kind of like randomly appeared in the first book. And we were like, so that's a thing she can do now. Okay, that changes the story just a
And
little bit.
it's like that. I think the best way to like sum all this up is like you have to remember that when you're working with somebody or with a group of people, working with a team, it's not your project. So you no longer have like when I'm writing my book, it's 100% me. It's everything Dewan wants in the book. It's everything Dewan wants from the cover. The formatting goes exactly how Dewan wants it. It's 100% me. This show, for example, not 100% me. So if there's a topic I really don't feel comfortable discussing, I'm gonna tell her, and we're gonna have a conversation about it. If
I try to give you a heads up,
she
but it
does,
doesn't always happen.
there are sometimes I'm like, "What are we talking about today?" She's like, "We're talking about this." I'm like, yeah, "Okay, I can do that." Yeah,
Okay, I can do that.
but she also learned that, like, okay, Dewan's pretty flexible. If I come up with something, he'll likely just ride with it, and
Yeah.
more than likely, I probably will. 99 times out of 100, I probably will. One day she might throw something at me that I'm like,
I
I'm not
will
sure.
try to run the season by you before we do the second
And it's
season.
cool. Like I'm cool about that. And it's like we're having a meeting on air. It's like no, it's no, but like it's not 100% her show. It's not 100% my show. So it's that acknowledgement that hey, if we're gonna put something out like
run it,
merchandise or promotional stuff,
run it by each
we
other,
gotta just
right?
hey, it's as simple as an email or a text. It's like, yo, I've made this. What do you think? I don't like it. Okay, well, what do you think we should do differently? Scrap the whole damn thing. Okay.
Okay.
Well, do you have
How
other
do you have better ideas?
right?
Yeah.
And if your answer is no, then shut up. I'm gonna be the first one to tell you. If you're gonna get into your partner's face and tell them this sucks, I don't want it, we're not doing it. It's like, okay, well, what's your idea? I don't have one. Stop talking.
Stop talking.
Stop talking. One of my biggest rules of thumb is if somebody's arguing with you and it's your idea versus their idea, my suggestion is to go with their idea. Here's why. Either A, it works out perfectly fine, no harm, no foul, great job, team, or it doesn't. And it falls upon its own merits, not because you shut it down, not because you were being whatever. It falls apart on its own merits, and now the door is wide open for you to, without resistance and without hesitation, present your idea and go with it.
Hmm.
So most of the time when you're presenting an idea, the biggest hesitation is the resistance you're going to get from the rest of the team, even if it's just your partner. Um, so if they have an idea and you have an idea, my suggestion, just go with it. Let it ride. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. If it does, fantastic. If it doesn't, you've done nothing to harm your teammate. You've supported them as best you could. And now they have a space to give you that same support as they go with your idea with minimal resistance. That's my overall. That it sounds like you're just giving in. It's not. It's
It's
by
not.
understanding the true nature of the project. The true nature of all your collaborative projects is that everyone works together to produce a thing, and the thing succeeds. And everybody's name is written on the thing, right? So if the thing succeeds, everyone succeeds. Who cares whose name was written first? Who cares whose name was written biggest? Your name is on the project. You succeeded. You won. You're on the winning team. It's like everybody on the team gets a championship ring, even if you didn't play in the playoffs. Doesn't matter. You got a ring. You're on the winning team.
Yeah.
Shut up and sit on the bench. It's okay. It's all right. But then
Okay.
again, to have that good working team, to bring it back to the original topic, to have that good working team, to ensure that the team that you're working with is going to have everybody's best interest at heart, proper networking, lots of networking, having good, honest conversations with multiple different people in the field, that's going to be your key. This is the whole reason why networking is so important. Not just meeting a person somebody else knows, but really getting out there, presenting yourself, understanding what you know and understanding what you don't know, and making sure that you find people who can respectfully fill in those gaps.
Absolutely. Okay. We should wrap up.
We should.
So, by exploring in its various forms, horror authors can not only enhance their individual careers, but also contribute to the vitality and evolution of the genre as a whole. So, if you like this video at any point, I encourage you to hit the like button. And if you want to see more episodes like this one, you can usually catch us on Fridays at 2 p.m. Today was an exception. We started at 3, but in general, 2 p.m. on Fridays, and episodes stay up for consumption. And you might want to subscribe on the off chance that YouTube actually and ring the bell on the off chance that YouTube actually notifies you when we go live. And we will catch you guys on the flip side. Woot!